Hello. Welcome back to another week of just botting up a storm. Just programming on this trading system, this trading bot. And man, has it been a week. This, if you are following these videos sequentially, about a week ago, we put this system live. And what that really means is that it's fully running up in the cloud, making decisions to buy or sell on the Gemini exchange. And it's making buy decisions using a XGBoost model. And it's making sell predictions using a custom approach that I have because I feel only making decisions at the points of interest that feed into the XGBoost model is a little bit too restrictive, and I want to be a bit more aggressive on exiting a trade if the conditions are right. So without immediately, right off the bat, getting into the weeds, about a little bit of high-level discussion, what are we looking at? If I can speak English, what are we looking at? There we go. We are looking at a Tableau visual that I stitched together where this vertical green line is showing you the date at which the system technically launched and then hit a bunch of errors. And so it hasn't really fully been operational until about maybe a night ago, 2 nights ago, without error. And so that green bar is like the first point that the system could have actually made a trade. Then what you see in the blue line, that's a smoothed out exponential smoothing applied to the actual price that the whatever symbol I'm looking at. In this case, we're on Bitcoin versus the US dollar. The time granularity here is hourly level. So this system is running on hourly decision making. I know a while back in a video ages ago, I was of the opinion that trading on the 5-minute intervals was probably best, but I have done a full 180 on that. I'm looking at 1 hour, 6 hour daily level trading decisions because you just don't want to be running against the wind. You want if you do a smoothed out version of a price like a moving average or exponential smoothing, and you're using that to identify points of interest where you might want to enter a market or exit a market. Why make things more difficult for yourself and introduce a bunch of noise, which you get at the granular level, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And why not just zoom out a little bit, like in Google Maps, you just zoom out a little bit, you get a better perspective of what's going on in the city. And then what happens is the local minimas that you detect, the local maxima, they represent bigger price swings. So that's kind of why I'm sitting here on the 1 hour time scale. And then I'm trying to implement some other trading behavior that's going to be happening at the daily level. Let's see if we even have time to talk about that in today's video. Okay, so once again, looping back to what we're looking at here, what are the dots? So we explained what the blue line was. That's a smoothed out trend of the price. You have the gray line in the background that's a little bit spikier. That's the actual closing price at the hourly level for Bitcoin US dollar in this case. You have this parameter here, which is doing nothing. So I'm just going to hide that. And then you have the date showing you when this thing launched. So what are the dots? These dots the blue ones are where the system bought. Where it bought into the market. So we could see here, I like this. At some little dips, it decided it was time to buy. And it did that pretty early after putting this thing live. It said, yep, this is a local minimum here that I like. So is this. And over here on the right-hand side, you're going to notice that there aren't any more blue dots. And that's because the way this thing is implemented, it's only ever going to, for any given symbol and time frame pair, it's only ever going to allow a certain number of slots. Now, it's kind of arbitrary, but in this situation where I'm not rolling in cash, so to speak, I have limited resources. What can I do? I've got limited resources. Bank account's not infinite. So in an attempt to to prevent a particular symbol and time frame pair from running away on me and, entering 60 shitty trades, I'm saying you can only be in 2 shitty trades at a time, or 2 good trades, hopefully. But then if you try to enter a 3rd trade, I'm going to say, nope, you're already occupying 2 seats in this car, in this bus, and there's only enough seats in this bus for every symbol and time frame pair to have 2 trades open. Because we don't want to be opening trades that are like $1. We want to be able to distribute the resources, in this case US dollars, enough that whenever a certain symbol reaches an attractive point to buy in, we have enough money to make that, and it's going to make an impact. It's not going to be a 50-cent trade because we spent all our money already opening up 100 trades, against Dogecoin or something. Sorry, Doge. Sorry. I actually have some trades open with you right now. But okay, so we're looking at this. We can see where the system bought in. We can see where it sold. And now this one's interesting because this was the very first sell action I had the system do. I forced this one. That's why it's kind of a little bit hasty. You can see that this was still trending up, even if the actual price was saying, hey, maybe we're not going to trend up. And so this is a nice way of kind of discussing a bit, a decision that I've made for the system is that it's only going to attempt to sell when it's at a local maximum. Now, this is not a local maximum by my definition because this blue line hasn't topped out yet. And so normally the system would never make this trade. It's debatable if I would want it to, because who knows? You see how this thing kind of struggles for a bit. There's a little bit of a flat line going on in the actual price before it decides, let's keep going up. But it could have decided, nope, we're going back down. That could happen. And so that's the risk I have, but I figure I would prefer to do it this way. We'll see when we look at a couple other completed trade cycles why I like this approach, where we wait until the smoothed out trend is saying we've hit a local maximum. Of course, it can't buy the local maximum because you don't know that you were at a local maximum until you're a little bit below that point. But what that means is that, we gave up this nice juicy sell point up here, but in general, when you look at this thing from a macro level scale, it's much better to be selling up here than it is to be selling, down here. Like if you're just watching this thing, if you know life it and you're sitting in front of your trading system and you're saying, hey, I'm going to override you right now and I'm going to sell because I'm getting emotional and I need to sell right now because I think that this price might dip again. Well, then you're going to be in the situation where you missed out on this opportunity to keep riding this lovely train upwards. Maybe there's a better, maybe instead of trains don't really go up, do they? So riding this nice little glider. We can't really call this thing a rocket ship yet. Let's see what the coming months bring. Okay, so we have this, and then if we were to look at some other trades, like let's see, Litecoin is one of the ones. Litecoin against the US dollar. This one also had a completed trade cycle. Here we see this thing in action again. We turn it on at the green vertical line. It finds this nice juicy dip right here. It gets in on that action. It rides out the storm. We can see it hits some local maximum here, which it would have had a decision to evaluate, but the logic I have in place, I guess, said, hey, we're not ready to sell yet, so we're just going to strap in for whatever dip is coming our way and keep on riding. And then it gets up here and it sells. So this is one of those reasons why I like to only make the decisions for selling, at least at this time scale, when we're at a local maximum, because I don't want to hit all these little snaggletooth peaks and say, yeah, let's sell, let's get out, and miss out on this opportunity to go all the way up here. So until, I'll just keep collecting evidence. I got to be honest, the first couple of days this thing was running, it was like that meme, where you're like poking with a stick, like, come on, do something, sell. And then all the errors I was hitting, I would leave it running. It's running overnight, and then I come back in the morning, I look at it, and of course there's some kind of stack trace error popping up in the Linux terminal, and I'm just like, great. This thing, I went to bed, and 30 minutes later it hit an error. And so this thing is only really been running for the last day or two without incident. And so, yeah, there have been some completed trade cycles. The bot's made its first dollars, but in order to come to any real conclusions, we have to, first of all, move a little bit, collect a bunch of samples. How is this thing behaving in general? Another thing is, right now, we just happen to have experienced a big crash in the crypto markets. And so in some ways, there's only up to go. So it's kind of naive to put all your eggs in the basket of, yeah, this thing is just killing it. All these trades it's entering are profitable. It's like, yeah, no wonder, because when you're at rock bottom, there's only up to go. So I also want to see how this thing handles some of the downward turns, maybe. And we're just not there yet. We need to have this thing running for a while before we can jump to conclusions. But while, in the meantime, it's still fun to just look at some of these things that the bot is doing. Like, for example, I really liked this one. This one, it bought in at just north of 1 cent, I guess, per token, and then it sold at almost 2 cents per token. So it doubled. If I had my little crystal ball in front of me and I'd put all my money on this trade, it would have doubled the portfolio. So like, this one's pretty cool to see. I bought twice, pretty soon on after enabling this thing, and then rode that whole lift upwards, and then sold as soon as the local maximum was detected. And again, I'm not sweating the fact that it could have sold up here and instead it sold down here. I'm telling you, after having built a dumb trading system a year ago, where I was, I would see the behavior would be like, it would buy here and then it would sell here. That really left an impression on me of how important it is to be willing to compromise with your trading system. I want to catch the macro level trends, and in order to do so, I am willing to trade in some of these rapid spikes that if you had a crystal ball, you could be more profitable. It's just not realistic to try to chase that dragon. So instead of chasing the dragon, we'll ride the horse that we can saddle up and ride without dying, hopefully. Okay, so we have those examples. Let's also just quickly take a look at, well, these are all the orders that are open, not exposing anything here about how much money is in the system. It's just showing, that there are a bunch of trades currently in the pipeline that are waiting to close. And here are some closed trades that have happened, or not some, these are all of the ones that have closed so far. And we can see here, this is when I forced the first trade, and then the second one was I helped it along. The first trades, a bunch of these were ones where the system ran into errors while trying to do the selling action. And so then I saw that those errors happened, and then I pushed it along. But then these four down here are all completely, the bot has been running for over 24 hours, just completely on its own, no babysitting, and it's now doing great. And we can see over here the price increases. This is just whatever the first price was, what's the percent difference between this and the second price. And we can see the number of days to complete. And I'm going to take this ugly, crosstab, this table, which, by the way, I've had a career in analytics, data analysis and stuff. And so I was always on the other side of the fence where, trying to basically sell data visualizations to people. And you're like, why are you looking at a table? And now I'm on the other side of it. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit about it. Well, please don't give me a pie chart. Just don't. I just want to see the data in the table. But I am going to make a nice dashboard that's going to expose some of these things in a kind of flashier way for me, so it's fun to look at. But in any case, then we can also see, without giving away how much money I have in the system, the actual gains as a percentage of the portfolio. Now, these two things combined are pretty important to me because, if you make, let's say, 1% of your portfolio, but on average it takes you 4,000 days to gain that, you're going to be like 4 million years old before you get yourself able to replace your income or something. And that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in, I'm interested in building this because it's just interesting, but I'm also interested in making some money. So I maybe, one day can just focus on something like this. But so what we see is, that this is going to help me kind of determine if how long it takes you to complete a trade cycle, and then how many days you have likely to live for the rest of your life, and what percentage of the portfolio that you have that you gain per trade. You could kind of calculate, is this thing going to be generating me a significant amount of money potentially in my lifetime? And so I'm going to play around with this. Not really going to talk more about that right now. And then we can just, we could kind of leave things there. Basically to recap, the system's running. It's been running without incident for like over a day now. It's logging its trades to BigQuery tables, and so that's what I'm connecting to here in Tableau. And then I'm just going to start building some quality of life things to monitor how this thing's behaving. Oh yeah, I guess there is one other thing I wanted to show, and that was just walking through the actual thing that runs the steering wheel of this whole operation. And that's, when I push all my code up to the cloud, and I start running this in a Linux server, so it can just run 24 hours a day, then this is the main thing that's driving it. And we can see here that it's just a while loop. It's always looping, and then it's going to say, hey, are we at the first minute of the hour? If we are, it's going to enter the trade loop. Then if we just so happen to be in the first minute of the hour on the 0th hour of the day, that means that from the Gemini exchange, when we pull the daily level data, we've just completed a full day. So we have the most recent full day's worth of data now. And this is pretty close to the earliest point in time that the bot can access what the hour or what the daily level data is looking like. Then we're going to assess something here, which is something I'm working on, which is a sell first, buy second pipeline. A little bit confusing because it says buy second first, but what this is it's still trying to buy dips and sell peaks, but it's just doing the selling first, and it's not using the XGBoost algorithm. This one is using the actual price, because we can see out here in the data, sometimes there are these really, really impressive spikes upwards. And so I'm trying to devise some logic here, and you can see that it's somewhat working, at least, that's going to detect when one of these kind of rare, I say rare because this is September, and then we move over here, this is November. This isn't like something you want to sit around holding your breath for. But when this happens, you can see the price swings are dramatic. Like this from here up to here represents, a doubling in the price. And so if we're able to detect one of these crazy spikes and then say, you know what, I think there's going to be a price correction, we could just sell a bunch of what we're holding in terms of tokens and then buy it back for cheaper at one of these buyback points. So that's what's going on over here. Then so that's going to do that once a day. Look for those opportunities, and then otherwise every hour it's just iterating through this buy first, sell second logic using the US dollar as the purchasing currency. So that is it. I'll be back next week with another update and maybe a little bit of a flashier dashboard to show. And maybe we'll have a little bit more insight into, what's working with this thing and what isn't. So until then, hope you found this interesting, and see you next time.